In this world, there are only two kinds of people. Those who have power and those who don't. With strength comes wealth and glory, a world where you crush those above you. And this brutal creed is broadcast to the world. But for one high school kid, it's just a show. A group of bullies surrounds our boy, Camino. He panics, pleading for his phone back. But their leader, a real charmer, just mocks him. They're just leeches preying on the weak. Camino explains he worked part-time just to afford it. Suddenly, a new figure appears and the mood shifts. The phone is passed to him without question. He looks down on Camino, calling the phone a toy. This is Sakata Toshiro, a man with impressive stats. The son of a company president, he has it all. And then there's Camino, whose stats are less impressive. With a sudden movement, Sakata slams the phone into the wall. Camino watches in horror as the pieces fly. He picks it up, relieved that the cheap device still works. Sakata looks down, noticing a drop of blood. His cronies immediately swarm him in a panic. They turn on Camino, demanding he apologize. Blaming him for their leader's minor injury, Camino is stunned, unable to process the accusation, but his confusion only fuels their mockery. The rest of the class just loves the free entertainment. He bites his lips, swallowing his defiance, and with his head bowed, he finally gives in. But Sakata tells him an apology isn't enough. Camino begs him, pleading for anything else. He's trapped in a sea of judging eyes, forced to lick the very floor. Where his tormentor's blood had fallen, the entire group erupts in laughter at the sight. But the humiliation isn't over yet. One of them pours a dark drink over his head. Well, that's one way to get a free drink. Suddenly, a teacher appears at the door. He simply tells the class to begin, ignoring the scene entirely. The teacher's indifference suddenly makes a lot more sense. When your dad owns the school, the rules are more like suggestions. In this Sakata empire, Camino is less than an ant. He feels a crushing despair, knowing he can never overcome that kind of power. The brutal school day finally ends, and Camino returns home. He's greeted by his sister, who tells him their mom sent money. Her name is Chica, and she's been tending to a memorial. She bought fresh flowers for their late father's picture, a quiet moment of remembrance for the man they lost. He thanks her for taking care of things, but she knows he's working hard too. He reflects on his life, a constant cycle of loss and suffering. But even in this darkness, there's one small escape, a show he eagerly awaits every single night, a brutal, no-holds-barred fighting tournament, where 500 contestants battle for the top spot, a violent spectacle broadcast to millions worldwide. It's called Fight Rankings, and our boy is its #1 fan. His sister Chica can only watch him get lost in the hype. But it's not just the violence that excites him, it's the hope of an upset, a world where the underdog can actually win and claim absolute victory. These are desperate life-or-death battles, a world where a single upset can change your entire life. And for Camino, his enjoyment comes from sketching these incredible moments of triumph. It's the only time he can escape his own reality and forget his weakness. The show snaps him back to attention, and his pen cap makes a break for it. He quickly turns to his laptop, ready for the next segment, a special on the legendary fighters of the past. And among them is his absolute favorite, Congo Takeshi, a man who never backed down from a fight no matter the odds. Camino is completely starstruck by his hero, but the story of Congo Takeshi is a tragic one. At the peak of his power, he simply disappeared, and for years, no one has seen him since. The next day in art class, the teacher announces the theme. The students are told to draw whatever they admire. Camino pauses, since his life isn't exactly full of role models. But then an image comes to mind and he begins to sketch. The teacher makes her rounds and stops, intrigued by his work. She looks down at his desk, impressed by his talent. She sees he's drawn a man filled with raw determination. She recognizes the legendary fighter, Congo Takeshi. Camino explains it's not just excitement, but true admiration. The teacher praises his work, giving him a rare moment of validation. But from the back of the class, a pair of eyes watches with disdain. Apparently, Sakata isn't a fan of the arts. Later, Camino walks home, still clutching his masterpiece. But his moment of peace is violently interrupted. He's dragged into an alley by Sakata's crew and kicked straight into a pile of garbage. Camino sits helpless as his drawing is inspected. Sakata scoffs at the art, questioning who it even is. Desperate, Camino pleads for them to give it back. Sakata feigns surprise, pretending to care about its importance. A wave of dread washes over Camino's face, because Sakata pulls out a lighter and sets it ablaze. He calls the burning paper a new work of art. Camino can only watch in absolute horror. But then, something inside him snaps and he lunges forward. He snatches the burning drawing back, trying to save what's left. He frantically tries to smother the flames with his bare hands. He manages to save a piece of it, a small hollow victory. But his defiance is met with a swift punch to the face. Kamino falls back, stunned by the sudden violence. Sakata is absolutely livid that he dared to fight back, and with a single thought, he gives the order. The entire crew descends on Kamino in a flurry of kicks. He wonders why he has to suffer at the hands of someone born with a silver spoon. His mind floods with pure, unfiltered rage. But all he can do is curl up and endure the pain. Sakata stands over him, reminding him of his place. But from the ground, Kamino grabs his tormentor's leg, and with a desperate pull, he brings the prince down with him. Sakata's face contorts with pure, unadulterated fury. He scrambles up and delivers a vicious kick. His cronies can only stare, shocked by the sudden turn of events. Kamino lies on the pavement, utterly defeated. Suddenly, a voice cuts through the tension, commenting on the noise. A large, bearded man steps out from a nearby building. He looks at the scene with disdain, clearly unimpressed by today's youth. Sakata's crew turns to face the imposing stranger. Sakata scoffs, dismissing him as just some homeless guy, but the man just smirks, telling him not to underestimate people. From the ground, Kamino looks up in disbelief. He sees the impossible, the face of his hero, Congo Takeshi. The next thing he knows, he's waking up in his own bed. He's greeted by the same man, who's happily eating a meal. Kamino sits up in shock, realizing it's really him, Fighter Congo. Congo explains he found the kid's address on his student ID. Well, that's convenient. Kamino is completely stunned, unable to grasp the situation. Congo explains he sent the bullies running with a single punch, and is now accepting payment in curry. He then turns to Kamino, asking if this is a regular occurrence. Kamino's bruised face and averted gaze are all the answer he needs. The fighter then picks up the burnt drawing, recognizing his younger self. He praises Kamino's work, impressed by the skill, but Kamino is confused. This man is nothing like the idol he'd imagined. Congo asks if our boy has any other drawings to show him. Kamino hesitantly reveals a sketchbook filled with his art. Congo is amazed by the sheer volume, but Kamino says there's more. His entire room is a monument to his passion, filled with stacks of drawings. Congo is completely floored by the sheer volume of artwork. He's at a loss for words, trying to process what he's seeing. He turns to Kamino, asking why he would create all of this. Kamino sheepishly explains it was just a hobby that grew out of control. Congo stares at him, a thoughtful expression on his face. Suddenly, he grabs one of the drawings and crushes it in his hand. He then grabs Kamino, feeling his arms and torso. The fighter asks if he's ever trained in martial arts, but Kamino denies it. Congo holds up a sketch of a powerful kick and tells him to copy the pose. Kamino insists it's impossible, but Congo just tells him to try. Kamino is hesitant, still trying to process the request. He can't understand why his idol would pay any attention to him, but he gives it a shot, lifting his leg in a clumsy, awkward kick. Congo immediately shuts him down, shouting that he's doing it all wrong. He demonstrates the proper form, explaining the motion of the arm and the powerful twist of the waist. He then unleashes a kick so fast it sends papers flying everywhere. Kamino is left completely speechless, surrounded by a storm of his own art. Congo calmly explains the technique, calling it advice from a genius. Well, he's not wrong. He tells Kamino not to think but to imagine. He tells Kamino to visualize the move just like in his drawings, to become the fighter he's spent years admiring from afar. The words echo in his mind, surrounded by his own creations. He closes his eyes and pictures the perfect form. Feeling the shift in his stance, the tension in his hands, a spark of determination ignites in his eyes. He takes a deep breath, ready to give it his all. Congo watches with an unwavering, critical gaze. With a sudden burst of movement, he swings his arm and unleashes a powerful, lightning-fast kick. The kick connects with Congo's hand with surprising force. He barely blocks it. The sole of Kamino's foot inches from his face. The legendary fighter is genuinely surprised, admitting it was better than he imagined. Kamino stands there, breathless and stunned by his own power. But Congo's expression turns serious as he mentions a legendary name. He asks our boy if he knows of the Ice Emperor, a man once called humanity's strongest, a 1 in a billion talent, a fighter who, despite no formal training, possessed a remarkable gift for art. Well, that's a coincidence. Congo tells Kamino that he's completely unaware, that he shares the exact same talent as the strongest man in history. Kamino points to himself, completely stunned by the revelation. Congo looms over him, his expression deadly serious. He grabs the boy, asking if he's tired of being a weakling. He offers to teach him a legendary technique, the ultimate counterattack of the bullied. With a wild grin, he declares the start of an underdog revolution. 1 week passes in the blink of an eye. Back at school, Sakata storms through the classroom, radiating pure menace. He sneers at his favorite target, calling him the floor licker. but the boy who looks back at him wears a chilling, confident smile. Kamino's smile is wide and unsettling. Sakata grabs him, accusing him of being a coward. The bully's rage is palpable, but Kamino's confidence has completely vanished. His mind flashes back to his training with Congo. He remembers questioning this whole underdog revolution. Congo had tried to force him into a fighting stance. The fighter insisted he just needed to try it once. But Kamino was convinced he was too weak to even attempt it. So Congo took a more hands-on approach to his lessons, by delivering a solid blow right to Kamino's gut. He asks if our boy is feeling pumped for the revolution yet. Kamino can only tremble, completely overwhelmed by the pain. He insists that someone like him could never succeed. He compares himself to Sakata, who was born with everything, while he was born poor, weak, and talentless, quite the resume. It's a belief ingrained in him. The weak must not fight the strong. He believes he can never become like his idol, a man of immense power. Congo listens to his excuses about wealth and circumstance, and then he tells him to listen and to stop with those words. Congo tells him those words are a curse, leaving Kamino stunned. He asks our boy a simple question. Why are the strong strong? It's because they believe it, with every fiber of their being. But Kamino can only see the legend in front of him, not the logic. Then Congo drops a bombshell. He used to be bullied too. He explains that as a kid he was just as small and weak as Kamino. A flashback reveals a timid boy, poor and afraid of his own shadow. Kamino is speechless, but Congo's grin confirms the unbelievable truth. He recalls the daily torment, the beatings that pushed him to the edge. But one day something changed. The bullies had turned their attention to his family, forcing his loved one to the ground in a moment of pure cruelty. And in that instant, something inside the young boy broke. He lunged forward, throwing punches without a second thought. Congo grins, remembering the outcome of that first fight. He admits he got completely beaten down so much for a heroic start. Kamino can only stare, repeating the words in disbelief. But Congo explains that was the moment his life truly began, the moment he chose to become stronger. The idea that the legendary fighter Congo was once a bullied kid is almost unbelievable until Sakata's grip yanks him back to reality. Congo grips Kamino's shoulders, his voice low and intense. Kamino can barely process the words, his mind reeling. So Congo decides to use a more physical teaching method, sending our boy flying straight into the door. He grabs him again, insisting that Kamino can fight back. The kid is still just trying to catch his breath. Congo explains that Kamino possesses a unique talent, a power he calls reproduction power. The name hangs in the air, sparking something in Kamino's mind. It's the ability to perfectly translate the images in his head onto paper, and he can reproduce those images with his own body. That kick from earlier was all the proof he needed. This mountain of notebooks is a testament to his potential. He tells Kamino that he isn't weak. If he just believes in his own strength and reverses his life. The words echo in his mind, a foreign concept. Congo's fist clenches with intensity. He asks him one more time what he truly wants to do. And this time, Kamino's own hand tightens into a fist. He's sick of letting others walk all over him. A flicker of understanding in Kamino's eyes. His hand tightens, a single thought forming. He wants to land just one punch. Congo finds his ambition a little underwhelming. He suggests aiming a little higher, like total annihilation. Kamino steels himself, the weight of the challenge sinking in. But Congo brings him back to reality, admitting Sakata is exceptionally talented. In a straight-up fight, Kamino has no chance of winning. Well, that's encouraging. But the legendary fighter has a wicked grin on his face. He reveals there's only one path to victory. Master a single technique in just 1 week. Congo tells him he has the talent to make it possible. With 1 week to prepare, he declares it's time to change everything. And just like that, a week has passed at Sakata's private academy. Kamino arrives at his classroom 3-1. He steps through the door, ready for what's to come. Inside, Sakata and his crew are waiting for their favorite punching bag. The bully calls him out, mocking him for his week-long absence. But the boy who walks toward them is not the same one who left. He stops, facing the group with an unnerving calm, and looks up with a smile that is anything but friendly. Looks like someone's been practicing their villain face. Sakata's eyes are wide with pure, unadulterated fury. His crew is completely rattled, wondering why their target is suddenly so intimidating. But Kamino is just as nervous, telling himself this is his chance to change. He takes a deep breath, trying to steady his nerves for what's to come. Suddenly, another student steps forward, holding up a phone. He calmly addresses the bullies, reminding them of a past event. A flashback reveals them cornering another student in a moment of extreme cruelty. And this new kid was there, capturing the entire thing on video. He now threatens to upload the footage with Sakata's name attached. A little digital blackmail to ruin a perfectly good afternoon of bullying. Sakata and his crew stand united, the undisputed kings of the classroom. He casually enjoys a lollipop, completely unbothered by the interruption. But Sakata just scoffs, dismissing the blackmail as an empty threat. He mocks the student, asking if that homeless man gave him a backbone. He looks down on the boy with utter contempt, calling him a commoner, and promises to teach him a lesson he won't soon forget. He begins a lecture on the unchangeable nature of social status, declaring that trash like him should simply submit to his superiors. And to prove his point, he pours a drink over the boy's head. He then orders his crew to take the phone and deliver a beating. His cronies make quick work of the would-be hero. Sakata simply turns away, laughing at the display. The student is left in tears, his courage shattered. He questions why Kamino can't stand up for himself. But Sakata's crew stands as an impenetrable wall. The lollipop stick snaps between his gritted teeth. His calm demeanor shatters, replaced by pure fury. Kamino trembles, overwhelmed by the sheer intimidation. But he takes a step forward, ready to fight. His mind flashes back to a question from his mentor. Congo explains that an attack is most predictable when you know exactly what your opponent is going to do. And that moment is always the very first strike. He tells Kamino that if he can control that one move, he can win. The lesson finally clicks, a look of pure understanding on his face. But Kamino doubts himself, unable to predict his bully's actions. Congo suggests that his experience as a victim is his greatest weapon. His mind flashes back to Sakata's signature flurry of kicks. He mimics the move, a right front kick, earning Congo's approval. Congo's eyes narrow, revealing the secret to reversing his fate. Sakata's rage boils over as he confronts the floor licker. But Kamino stands firm, offering to repeat his insults. He calls out the bully's cowardice, a king with no power of his own. Sakata's face contorts, spitting out insults about Kamino's status. The rest of the class can only watch, certain they're about to witness a murder. They whisper about Sakata's reputation, how he even took down the boxing ace. Yeah, this should end well. The bully asks if Kamino is ready for the consequences. But Kamino's eyes are wide with focus, not fear. He sees Sakata draw back his leg for the signature kick. The first strike is launched just as Congo predicted. Kamino's eyes widen as he realizes the prediction was perfect. The first strike of an enraged opponent is the one you can see coming. He dodges just in time, Sakata's kick whistling past his ear. The entire classroom freezes in stunned silence. They can't believe their eyes. The punching bag actually dodged. And in that split second, Kamino unleashes his own counterattack. His mind flashes back to Congo's lesson on how to turn the tables. He remembers his own fear, asking what to do next. And he remembers his master's unwavering, intense gaze. Kamino's eyes are wide with shock and hesitation. He protests that the move isn't fair, but Congo reminds him that this is a real no-rules fight. He urges Kamino to use the ultimate one-hit kill, a devastating kick aimed right where it hurts the most. Sakata's face suggests he did not enjoy that particular lesson. The school's untouchable prince collapses to the floor. Kamino can only stare, shocked by his own actions. He stands over his tormentor, asking if he's had enough. The entire classroom is frozen, witnessing the impossible. Sakata lies on the ground, his face a mask of pure agony. His crew can only stare, their minds completely blown. Kamino realizes with a jolt of adrenaline that he actually did it. His legs tremble, barely able to support him, but a wave of triumph washes over him. He won. But just as he celebrates, Sakata begins to rise, surrounded by a menacing aura. Kamino's victory is cut short by pure, unadulterated shock. The bully forces himself to his feet, his eyes burning with rage. He questions how Kamino's perfect hit wasn't enough to keep him down. Well, so much for the one-hit kill. He glares at our boy, asking if that homeless guy taught him such a dirty trick. He promises to teach Kamino a lesson on how to deal with trash. He delivers a brutal kick right to Kamino's gut. The pain is immediate and overwhelming. He grabs our boy by the hair, ready to continue the lesson, and unleashes a vicious punch straight to his face. The force of the blow sends Kamino reeling back. He looks down with a crazed expression, asking if he understands. His cronies can only watch, assuming the fight is over. Kamino cries out, clutching his face in agony. But through the pain, he realizes something strange. Sakata stands there, trying to play off the pain from that low blow. He holds Kamino, but the momentum of the fight has stalled. Kamino looks up, confused by the sudden pause in the beatdown. Sakata lets him go, deciding a simple thrashing isn't enough. A wicked smile spreads across his face as a new idea forms. He points at Kamino, ready to deliver a far crueler punishment. He's going to put him in the one thing Kamino loves, fight rankings. Oh, the irony. Camino can only stare, the words not making any sense. Sakata spells it out for him, his voice echoing in the silent room. The entire class gasps in horror, knowing exactly what that means. The very same show that's a massive hit on streaming services. Sakata taunts him, calling it a gift for the floor licker. Camino stammers, unable to believe Sakata has that kind of power, but the bully just puffs out his chest and claims the show is his. Camino's mind races trying to make sense of the claim, and then he remembers the show's primary sponsor, Sakata Pharmaceuticals, a massive company with unlimited resources. Of course, the bully confirms it's his father's company, and getting Camino on is no problem. He looks down on our boy with a cruel, confident smirk, and he suggests their own school as the perfect stage for the fight. He declares he'll fight Camino in front of the entire world. His crew erupts in cheers, excited for the show. A global public execution for the floor licker. Well, that's not dramatic at all. Camino can only stare, the reality of the threat crashing down on him. Sakata leans in, asking if he's ready to back up his big talk. Camino hunches over, still reeling from the pain. The bullies point and laugh, mocking his tears. But his sobs suddenly turn into a wild, unsettling laugh. The entire group freezes, completely thrown by his reaction. And with a newfound resolve, Camino accepts the challenge. He looks his bully in the eye, declaring he's already changed. Sakata's eyes widen, completely stunned by this newfound defiance. He sets the date for their fight, 3 weeks from now. Sakata then turns and walks away, leaving his crew in confusion. Camino is left standing alone, a new man. But as soon as they're gone, the confidence shatters into pure panic. He wonders why he ever agreed to such a crazy challenge, but he remembers the feeling of his foot connecting with his target, and the image of Sakata's face twisted in agony. He clenches his fists, realizing with a jolt that he's actually happy. It's the intoxicating rush of a successful experience. He declares he'll win and finally reverse his life. Plus, the prize money is a pretty sweet bonus. He can't stop laughing, much to the bully's confusion. Meanwhile, Sakata has stormed off to the restroom. He unleashes his frustration on an unsuspecting wall. The prince is having a bit of a tantrum. He can't believe he was made to look weak. He decides a public fight isn't enough. He wants blood. But elsewhere, his mentor finds the whole situation hilarious. Congo is practically giddy, calling it a major promotion for our boy. Camino declares the fight is in 3 weeks and this time he'll win. But Congo's mood darkens, asking if he truly gets the danger he's in. Camino can only look back in confusion. The fighter explains that a humiliated king is now planning to make a public example of him. The kid's confident smile begins to fade. Congo lays it all out. This isn't a fight, it's a public execution. And the reality of that threat finally hits Camino like a truck. He imagines a scene of total public humiliation. He sees his defeat becoming a viral meme, a toy for children to laugh at. A future where the whole world mocks his failure. The thought sends him into a full-blown panic attack. But Congo just laughs, telling him that cheap trick won't work a second time. Camino begs for help, but his mentor is enjoying this way too much. So Congo snaps him out of it with a solid punch to the face. He grabs the kid, telling him there's only one option left, get stronger. Camino asks how he could possibly do that in just 3 weeks. Congo tells him the first step is simple. He just has to die 1,000 times. Camino can only stare back, completely bewildered. The clock is ticking with just 20 days until the match. He asked what his mentor could possibly mean by that. Congo explains that in his current state, Camino would be utterly destroyed. The words echo in his mind as they stand in a quiet park. Congo reveals that Sakata is a seasoned street fighter, a natural-born brawler with no hesitation to inflict pain. The news does little to calm Camino's already frayed nerves. But Congo declares he can get him ready in just 3 weeks. He tells our boy the plan is simple, with only 2 things to master. The first thing he needs to master is demonstrated with a powerful kick against a massive tree. Congo uses the branches as springboards, launching himself upward. His feet connect with the wood with incredible force. Camino watches in awe as his mentor scales the tree in seconds. He lands gracefully on a high branch, perfectly balanced. He looks down, his expression deadly serious. He then orders Camino to climb up and join him. Camino is completely stunned by the man's speed and agility. He hesitantly reaches out, his hand trembling as he touches the bark. Congo waits patiently on a high branch. Camino struggles his way up, finding it incredibly difficult. But with gritted teeth, he believes he can manage. He finally reaches the top, only to be called slow for his efforts. Congo grins, announcing the start of their special training. Camino is stunned, realizing the climb was just the warm-up. Without warning, Congo kicks the branch Camino is on. Our boy can only look on in horror as he begins to fall. Congo calmly explains that this is the real training, and Camino's lesson begins with a face-first introduction to the tree trunk. He tumbles down the massive trunk, hitting every branch on the way, and lands in a heap on the ground, completely out of commission. He's convinced this is the end, that he's actually dying. He looks up, demanding to know what his mentor is thinking, but Congo just cheerfully tells him to get up and do it again. Camino refuses, certain that this training will be the death of him. The sheer terror in his eyes says it all. He looks up at his mentor, who tells him he's finally starting to understand. Congo explains the lesson: fall and die over and over, until hell itself feels like a warm bath. The words hang in the air, a truly terrifying training regimen. Congo orders him to crawl his way back up from the ground. Camino looks like he's already seen the light at the end of the tunnel. He finally understands what it means to die 1,000 times, but he can't help but wonder if this brutal training has any real purpose. And just like that, the 3 weeks are over, it's match day. The school has been transformed into the stage for a bloody carnival, an event to decide the world's strongest fighter, a brutal, no-rules, one-on-one battle. Broadcast live to 300 million viewers across the globe, looks like Netflix has a hit on its hands, an event whose name is Fight Rankings. The announcers welcome the world to a very special stage. Hosted at the private Sakata Academy, the school built by the show's sponsor, our commentary is provided by the freelance announcer Ijichi Yoshinari, and for analysis we have former ranker Takuma, who looks like he's seen a few fights himself. The rules are simple: one-on-one, no time limit, and anything in the room is a weapon. The fight only ends with a knockout or a surrender. And today's event is an entry rank match, a chance for a new fighter to climb the ladder of 500 registered warriors, with prize money, fame, and glory all going to the victor. The announcer explains the bonus system, where viewer count multiplies the prize. He says that if you put on a good show, even a rookie can walk away with a life-changing fortune. The live chat is already blowing up as the world gets its first look at the arena. Viewers are a mix of confused and excited about a fight in a high school classroom, but the announcer cuts through the noise, ready to introduce the first combatant. He explains that this man isn't here for the money, and with a booming voice he calls for the fighter's entrance. From a nearby window, Sakata's crew watches the scene unfold. A mysterious robed figure steps forward, ready for battle. He's carried in on a massive throne, surrounded by robed attendants. A horn sounds, heralding his grand arrival. The stage is filled with smoke and spotlights for the dramatic entrance. The announcer introduces him as the heir to Sakata Pharmaceuticals, the undisputed king of his own personal kingdom, a man who shows no mercy to those who stand against him. He rises from his throne, ready to deliver bloody judgment. He possesses wealth, power, and even uses his followers as a human red carpet. The strongest high school student, a man who has it all. The announcer calls out his name, Sakata Toshiro. He looks down on the world with pure, unearned confidence. The live chat explodes with adoration for the natural-born winner. Viewers comment on his physique, a fighter's body built by privilege. His classmates cheer for the violence to come. And now the announcer turns to introduce his opponent. A single pyre ignites, heralding a new arrival. A lone silhouette stands at the end of a fiery path, and from the shadows emerges Camino, looking like a new man. He takes a single step forward, a fellow student ready for battle. The announcer introduces him as the one who defied the Sakata Empire, a boy who has endured every form of abuse imaginable. He's known by the humiliating nickname Floor Licker, but in this world, strength is the only thing that matters. The announcer introduces him Camino Kosuke. The live chat immediately erupts with mockery and insults. The entire student body has gathered to watch the spectacle. They can't believe the school's punching bag actually showed up. And honestly, Camino can't seem to believe it either. He's surrounded on all sides by a sea of judging eyes. He trembles, the reality of his situation finally sinking in. Sakata approaches, offering to forget everything if he just gives up. Camino can only stare back, completely stunned by the offer. But the bully's gritted teeth tell a very different story. He promises to erase Camino from society entirely. The sheer killing intent is enough to make our boy freeze in terror. His mind flashes back to every moment of humiliation he's endured. But he refuses to go back to that life of oppression. And a strange, determined smile forms on his face. He stands tall, calling out the talkative king. Looks like the training actually stuck. He warns that underestimating the weak is a grave mistake, and declares that today he will reverse his entire life. But Sakata just scoffs, calling his tough act pathetic. The announcer frames this as a criminal facing judgment, a personal execution delivered by the king himself. The world watches, wondering if the underdog can even land a hit. And with that, the battle officially begins. The announcer lays out the rules. A one-on-one open-weight battle. Both fighters are checked for weapons before the match. A fight that only ends when one man is left standing. The announcer adds that everything in the classroom is fair game. The two opponents stand ready for a no-holds-barred battle. The tension is electric as the king faces the challenger. He then calls for the fighter's seconds to be introduced, starting with Camino. But the name on the card leaves him completely stunned. He and the entire commentary team look on in utter disbelief. A figure walks forward with a confident, heavy stride, and from the shadows emerges the legendary Congo Takeshi. The live chat explodes, unable to believe the legend has returned. The man who vanished years ago is here in the flesh. The announcer is in a frenzy, questioning Congo's sudden appearance. But Congo just smirks, clarifying that he's not the one fighting. The commentary team is left completely speechless by the revelation. But the surprises aren't over, as another figure makes his entrance. It's Sakata's second, his own father, the president of the company. An overlord who built an empire, now here to watch a high school fight. A legend and a corporate titan are about to face off from the sidelines. The president takes his seat, radiating pure, unfiltered power. Congo greets him casually as if they're old acquaintances, but Sakata's father coldly dismisses him, refusing to even acknowledge him. The president's eyes narrow with cold, dismissive fury. But Congo just stares back, completely unfazed by the hostility. He smirks, commenting on the man's unchanging nature. The announcer realizes there's a deep history between these two titans, leaving the commentary team completely stunned by the pre-show drama. In the ring, the fighters return to their starting positions, awaiting the signal before these two powerful men. But Camino's heart pounds, the reality of the moment sinking in. He tries to steady his trembling hands and focus his mind. And with a sharp chop of the hand, the decisive battle begins. Camino's eyes widen as he forces himself to focus. Sakata wastes no time, leaping into the air and unleashing a brutal flying kick. Camino barely gets his arms up to block the impact. The announcers are already losing their minds over the opening move. The force sends our boy flying back into a desk. He hits the ground hard, already tasting blood. Well, that was a short revolution. Sakata stands over him, the picture of absolute dominance. And he doesn't let up, unleashing a merciless barrage of strikes. Camino is trapped in a storm of fists and feet, unable to fight back. The crowd watches on their phones, already calling the fight over. The live chat agrees, mocking the one-sided beatdown. Even the commentary team is horrified by the brutal display. But the former ranker just grins, enjoying the show. Sakata feels something strange as his fist connects, but he continues his relentless assault on Camino. He realizes with a jolt that Camino's body is much tougher than before. Through the pain, Camino's eyes are filled with pure, unwavering focus. Sakata grabs him, his rage growing with every blocked strike. He demands to know what's changed as he unleashes another blow. The bully's fist connects with a solid thud, but he's the one who looks surprised by the impact. He demands to know what Camino is even doing. Camino calmly explains he's just guarding. His mind flashes back to another of Congo's lessons. The fighter explains it's not about power or technique. It's about who gets scared first, and that's why he made Camino face death. Camino realizes it was mental conditioning, but Congo says there's more. He explains that when the body heals from damage, it creates hard fibers. Camino is confused, but his mentor confirms it. Congo explains that the body rebuilds itself stronger after being broken. The damaged areas are reinforced to prevent future injury. It's a process of turning the entire body into a callus. A body so tough it can shatter wood without flinching. He tells Camino that what normally takes years to acquire, he was forced to gain in 3 weeks of pure agony. It was his only path to victory. The lesson then moved from theory to very painful practice. Back in the present, Camino endures the relentless assault, and he realizes with a shock that the pain is manageable. The former ranker watches with a knowing grin. He notes that Sakata must be shocked, because even he thought Congo's plan was reckless. A flashback reveals Camino falling for 3 weeks straight, but he memorized his master's movements after seeing them just once. He then visualized the technique through his drawings, and used his reproduction power to master an unbreakable body. It's a kind of insane talent that borders on obsession. Back in the present, Sakata's fists have finally stopped, and through the pain, Camino's eyes are wide with focus. He sees his opening and unleashes his counter, a devastating kick aimed right where it counts. The announcers are stunned by the sudden turn of events. The impact is so intense you can practically see the steam. Camino holds his form, waiting for his opponent to fall. But Sakata asks if he really thought that would work, and he responds with a brutal kick of his own. He scoffs at Camino for trying the same cheap trick twice. But Camino realizes something, remembering Congo's insane plan. He understands now this crazy fighting style actually works. Sakata plants his foot, ready to unleash another flurry. He drives a powerful punch straight into Kamino's side. Kamino sees the combination coming, a left body shot, followed by a devastating right overhand. But he raises his arms, determined to block this one too. The impact is brutal, rattling him to his core. Sakata finishes with a spinning kick that sends him crashing down. Kamino is stunned, wondering why his guard failed him. The sidelines watch on, a mix of shock and cold indifference. Sakata stands over him, acknowledging his opponent's strategy. But Kamino is on the ground, reeling from the impact. He reminds Kamino that this isn't a martial art. It's a fight to the death. He grabs 2 chairs, ready to continue the assault. Kamino's mind flashes back, trying to process the attack. He remembers a powerful blow to his head, and realizes he was struck by a school desk. He's left a bloody mess on the classroom floor. The announcers confirm the brutal, unsanctioned attack, but the former ranker just smirks, reminding everyone that anything goes. Congo's voice echoes in his mind, a final, desperate warning. Kamino realizes this isn't a martial art, and it's not just school bullying either. Sakata stands over him, declaring, "This is a real fight. This is the brutal reality of fight rankings." He promises to teach Kamino what happens when a commoner defies a king. But Kamino forces himself back to his feet, refusing to give in. He questions Sakata's obsession with his royal status, but the bully just smirks, saying he wouldn't understand. He explains that his father built an entire empire in 1 generation. He was born into a life of trophies and accolades, believing it's his birthright to rule over others. A philosophy passed down from his equally ruthless father, and he's more than willing to crush anyone who resists. Kamino can't believe this is happening for such a simple reason. Sakata swings the chair with incredible speed, and Kamino realizes the immediate danger, but instead of retreating, he plants his feet. He dodges the first chair with surprising agility, and narrowly avoids the second, which shatters against a desk. The announcers are in an uproar as Sakata uses a desk as a projectile. Kamino struggles on the ground, realizing he can't get close. Sakata keeps his distance, ready to hurl another piece of classroom furniture. Kamino scrambles to his feet, trying to stay mobile to avoid the attack. But Sakata plants his foot, changing direction in an instant. He closes the distance, mocking his target as he moves in, and delivers a brutal knee strike right to Kamino's face. The impact sends a spray of blood across the classroom floor. Kamino collapses, leaving Sakata to stand over him in triumph. The bully glares down, declaring that defying him is a denial of his very existence. The announcers are in an uproar as Kamino writhes in agony. The former ranker notes Sakata's long reach and kickboxing base, but he's also a seasoned street fighter, blending solid martial arts skills with completely unorthodox and brutal techniques. The analyst watches intently, recognizing the deadly combination. It's a perfect hybrid of disciplined fighting and raw brawling. Kamino looks up, his eyes wide with pure terror. He's buried under a pile of desks with no way out. Sakata looms over him, declaring there's no escape for the floor licker. He realizes at this rate, his attacks will never reach. Trapped under the wreckage, there is truly no escape. And this scene of utter defeat is all too familiar. A flashback to a life of submitting to the strong. The live chat agrees, his spirit is officially broken. He collapses, believing it was an impossible game from the start. The flicker of hope he once had is now completely extinguished. Staring at his own blood, he accepts that he could never win. He wonders if licking the floor will be enough this time. But just as he accepts his fate, a voice cuts through the despair. Kamino's eyes are wide with the terror of his own failure, but his master's words echo in his mind. A simple command to believe in his own strength. The memory cuts through the pain and despair. He refuses to let his story end this way. A defiant no echoes in the silence of his mind. He remembers the day he swore to change everything. He plants his feet, finding a new foundation, deciding that no matter what comes his way, he will only move forward. From the sidelines, Congo watches with a look of grim satisfaction. Kamino rises, his eyes fixed forward, refusing to look down. Sakata lunges, promising to finally put an end to this. But a single command echoes in Kamino's mind. Step in. He ducks under the wild swing, closing the distance in an instant. He's finally inside his opponent's guard, and he grabs on, refusing to let Sakata escape. Congo's eyes narrow, recognizing that this is now Kamino's territory, a space he earned by steeling himself and moving forward. And now, it's time for secret strategy number 2. Congo's voice explains an amateur's one full power strike, a technique our boy has been waiting to unleash. He channels every ounce of pain and rage into this one move, and drives a powerful palm strike straight into Sakata's chest. The impact is so brutal it rattles his very bones. The prince gasps, the air completely knocked out of him. He stumbles back, his royal composure completely shattered. Kamino's hand glows, still radiating with power. He stands tall, ready to finally reverse his entire life. But Sakata's fury ignites, and he is far from finished. Sakata's crew watches in disbelief, wondering if the strike landed. The announcers are stunned by the sudden palm strike. But the former ranker explains that Kamino came prepared with 2 weapons, a statement that leaves the announcer completely baffled. The first was his newly forged body, built for battle. The second weapon was born from a painful lesson. He'd tried to punch a bag, only to injure his own hand. Congo explains that for an amateur, a punch is a risky move. The impact disperses through the joints, especially for the untrained. He tells Kamino that punching is an advanced technique he hasn't earned. Congo explains that even an amateur's fist can be turned into a devastating weapon. The analyst calls it the palm strike, the weapon of the weak. And because Kamino moved forward, he created his own opening. This is the view he earned for himself. Kamino stands there, bloody but filled with a new belief. He can win. But Sakata is far from finished, his eyes burning with rage. The impact was so powerful it actually cracked his ribs. His mind floods with pure, unfiltered fury. He can't stand the thought of a bottom feeder looking down on him. Kamino's eyes burn with a new fire, declaring he's not the same person anymore. He stands before his tormentor, stating that from now on, they are equals. Sakata scoffs at the weakling's defiance, but Kamino insists his days as a slave are over. The prince can only laugh at the absurdity of the claim. He mocks the idea that one lucky punch could ever change his status. His rage ignites, promising to crush Kamino until he finally learns his place. Kamino is stunned by his opponent's incredible fighting spirit. The announcers agree. Sakata is shaken, but his will to fight is far from broken. Kamino steals his resolve, knowing there's no turning back now. And across from him, Sakata forces down his own fear, his eyes filled with killing intent. Sakata lunges forward, his rage fueling the attack. But Kamino charges to meet him, his only thought to move forward. The 2 fighters collide in a desperate head-on clash. The impact sends a spray of blood across the classroom. They trade brutal, simultaneous punches right to the face, a mutual strike that sends a shockwave through both of their bodies. The live chat goes wild, the viewers completely captivated by the brawl. The sheer force of the blow sends both men stumbling back. The crowd gasps as they see a fighter begin to fall, and in an unbelievable turn, both men collapse to the floor. They both plant their feet, refusing to be the first to fall. The announcers are stunned. Both fighters are still standing. Sakata's crew can only watch in utter disbelief. They never expected the floor licker to have this much fight in him. Sakata grits his teeth, pushing through the intense pain, and Kamino matches his resolve, refusing to back down an inch. They're no longer fighting with technique, just pure will. A desperate, simultaneous exchange of brutal blows. The commentary team declares it a battle of pure spirit. But from the sidelines, Sakata's father watches in cold silence. He calls the brawl ugly, a fight unworthy of a king. But Congo disagrees, a smirk on his face. He says that Kamino has an incredible look on his face. And back in the ring, Kamino is a whirlwind of motion. Sakata stumbles back, trying to block the relentless assault. But Kamino gives him no room to breathe. He's fighting with a ferocity no one has ever seen from him. He lands another brutal strike right to the head. The prince's face is a mask of bruises and shock. He staggers forward, completely disoriented by the blow. The relentless assault finally stops Sakata in his tracks. He stumbles back, his body finally giving in to the damage, and Kamino plants his foot, ready for the final attack. He unleashes the ultimate one-hit kill once more. The commentary team can only scream at the sight. The kick connects with devastating, undeniable force. Sakata doubles over, the impact echoing through the room. But as he collapses, his eyes are filled with pure hatred. He grits his teeth, refusing to be humiliated like this, and somehow, impossibly, he refuses to fall. Kamino stands over his tormentor, barely holding on himself. He's reached his absolute limit, with nothing left in the tank, but his master's words echo in his mind, a simple question about what to do at the very end. And the answer was always the same: move even further forward. He realizes now that the only way out is through, and with that thought, his resolve hardens once more. Sakata roars back to life, refusing to be defeated by a commoner. But Kamino plants his feet, ready to meet him head-on. He lunges forward, delivering a brutal headbutt. From the sidelines, Congo watches with a look of pure pride. Sakata's crew can only stare, their jaws on the floor. But the president's eyes burn with a cold, silent fury. The final blow connects, a brutal end to a desperate brawl. And in an unbelievable finish, both fighters collapse to the ground. The commentary team is left completely speechless by the double knockout. They realize with a shock that the prince is completely unconscious. And the announcer makes the call, "The winner is Kamino Kosuke." The words barely register as Kamino stands there, a bloody mess. He looks at his trembling hand, the reality of his victory finally sinking in. Sakata's crew can only stare at their fallen king, and as the numbers climb, the prize money explodes. The medics rush in to handle the aftermath of the brutal brawl. From the sidelines, Congo admits he never thought the kid would actually win. He realizes Kamino's talent is far greater than he ever imagined. The official results are in an 18-minute war won by a headbutt, and our boy gets a free trip to the luxurious Sakata hospital. He's taken down a long, sterile hallway, where his mentor stands watch, checking the online fallout. The fight has already gone viral, with the world buzzing about the brutal upset. The world is buzzing about the bullied kid who became a legend overnight. Congo tells a sleeping Kamino that he's officially famous now, and that his life is about to get a whole lot busier, because everyone will be lining up for a piece of the new champion. And it seems the first challenger has already arrived. He smashes through the window, sending the room into chaos. A mountain of muscle and rage stands in the wreckage. He lunges forward, aiming a powerful strike at Congo. But the legendary fighter meets the blow without flinching, and with a single fluid motion, he sends the attacker flying. The attacker is sent flying across the hospital room. Congo calmly comments on the man's rude entrance, but the intruder just scoffs at the pot, calling the kettle black. He then shouts with pure excitement, calling Congo his master. Congo denies having any disciples and asks why he's here. The man grabs a sleeping Kamino, holding him upside down. Well, that's one way to wake someone up. He inspects our boy's body, mocking his pitiful muscles, and then flexes his own, boasting about his superior physique. Congo's eyes narrow as he realizes the man's intent. This is Genryu Soma, rank 300, and he's here to fight Kamino. Kamino wakes up, realizing things have gotten a little wild. His hospital room is a construction zone, the wall completely destroyed. Congo explains he had a visitor, as police haul away the troublemakers, but he just laughs, saying it's the price of fame. Kamino can barely process it. He actually beats Sakata, but his mentor tells him to look at something more important. He stares at the screen, his eyes wide with disbelief. It's a flood of messages from fans all over the world. Congo tells him it's the recognition he earned for his fight, and that his total prize money is a whopping 23 million yen. Kamino is completely stunned by the number on the screen. Congo explains that this kind of money is why the strong are drawn to fight rankings. The narrative was perfect, the corporate heir versus the bullied kid, and the underdog's victory was the ultimate dramatic payoff for the viewers. Congo then admits that honestly, not even he thought Kamino would win. Kamino is shocked by the lack of faith, but his mentor just laughs it off. Well, that's one way to build confidence. But our boy still can't quite believe what he's hearing. Congo explains that as the winner, Kamino is now provisionally ranked 501. His next step is to bet his entire prize money and challenge a ranked fighter. If he wins that match, he'll finally become an official fighter. Kamino's eyes widen as the reality of the situation hits him. He grabs his mentor, asking if he really has to fight again. But Congo explains that as the hottest newcomer, he can pick his next fight. A win means taking his opponent's rank and money. Welcome to the big leagues. Kamino can only stammer, terrified by the idea of a battle-filled life. Congo holds up 2 fingers, laying out the 2 paths ahead. The first is to risk everything he's earned for a shot at a new destiny. The other is to take the money and return to his quiet, peaceful life. He gets right in Kamino's face, demanding to know which path he'll choose. Our boy can only stare back, completely overwhelmed by the impossible choice. Kamino panics, insisting he can't make such a huge decision right now. But Congo explains he has a 1-month grace period to make his choice. He then leaves, telling the rookie he's rooting for him. No pressure, though. Kamino is left alone, his mind reeling from the impossible choice. He wonders if he could truly survive in the world of fight rankings. A week later, he returns to school, standing outside his classroom. He hesitates, unsure of what kind of reception he'll get. He peeks through the door with a shaky, awkward greeting, and the entire classroom falls completely silent. Every single eye in the room is fixed on him. He can only wonder what's happening. A few students offer a shaky greeting, and for the first time, they actually use his name. He looks across the classroom, the tension thick. Sakata's crew is still there, looking less than thrilled. Their usual confidence has been replaced with irritation. He realizes after thinking it over that after everything that's happened, no one knows how to treat him. The entire dynamic of the classroom has shifted. He learns that Sakata hasn't shown up since the fight, but then the other bullied kids approach him in the hall. They thank him with a flood of grateful tears and other fluids. Camino is just glad he could make them happy, even if he needs a shower now. And just like that, his school life has become peaceful. He can hardly believe how much has changed in just 1 week. As he walks home, he feels the strange weight of his new reputation. Suddenly, a classmate calls out, asking to walk with him. It's Taira Ryota, a boy he now considers a friend. Ryota is buzzing with excitement, telling Camino how cool he was in the match. He says it was amazing to watch him finally get payback. Camino reflects that his friend Ryota hasn't changed at all. He was the only one who stayed by his side through all the bullying. Ryota suggests they have a victory party, his treat. But Camino shows him his injured mouth, unable to eat anything. Suddenly, Ryota pulls out his phone, excited about a news story. It's an article about challengers lining up for the new breakout star. Camino's face falls as he realizes who they're talking about. The article features rank 300, Genru Soma, the same guy who crashed his hospital room. He recognizes the name immediately, a look of dread on his face. The reporter asks why a ranked fighter would call out a rookie, questioning his motives. Soma grabs the reporter, declaring he has only one goal. He promises to completely crush his next opponent, leaving Camino stunned. He holds up a mountain of cash, betting every last yen he has. The news report ends with Soma still screaming in the background. Ryota laughs at the spectacle, explaining Soma's brutal fighting style. A man who mows down his opponents with pure, overwhelming muscle. He leaves a trail of broken bodies in his wake. Ryota calls him the muscle-brained super ape, Genryu Soma. He grabs Camino, asking if he really has to fight that monster. Camino can only stare, the thought of fighting again sending a chill down his spine. He imagines himself facing this new, monstrous opponent, a man who towers over him in every conceivable way. He questions if he really has to step back into that world and fight in the rankings one more time. He walks home, the impossible choice weighing on his mind. But his path is suddenly blocked by a familiar pair of legs. Genryu Soma greets him, calling him the new superstar. Camino's eyes widen as he recognizes the muscle-bound fighter. Soma just offers a calm, unsettling smile, and then unleashes a kick without a single word of warning. Camino hits the ground, recognizing the familiar front kick. Soma casually explains that was just a friendly greeting. He warns our boy that the next one will be for real. His foot stops inches from Camino's face, a clear threat. But Camino reacts on pure instinct, unleashing his own counter. He aims for the same weak spot he used against Sakata, but Soma catches the kick with ease, his grip like a vice. He mocks the repeated use of the low blow, praising the reaction. Camino scrambles back, realizing his ultimate move was completely useless. Soma wonders if Congo taught him that move, noting how effective it was on the rich kid. Camino demands to know why he was just attacked. Soma says he's here to fight, asking if Camino will accept. But Camino is terrified, refusing to even listen. He insists he was never a real fighter, just a fan. That one match was just to change his life, not start a new one. Soma erupts in laughter, calling it the classic weakling's excuse. He leans in, telling Camino not to lie to him. The words leave our boy completely stunned. Soma points out the fire still burning in his eyes, a fighting spirit that he can't possibly hide. Soma asks a simple question about his fighting experience. Camino admits he's only been at it for about a month. The muscle-bound fighter notes that Sakata had years of training. He even demonstrates a few moves, admitting the kid had potential. He then asks how Camino managed to surpass him so quickly. Camino can only stare back as Soma gets brutally honest. He declares that our boy has a natural talent for fighting. The word talent echoes in Camino's mind, a foreign concept. Soma explains that while he loves an upset, he hates losing to one. So he's decided to crush Camino before he becomes a real threat. Camino stammers, suggesting he should fight someone higher up. But Soma says his muscles are telling him a different story. In fact, they're practically begging him for a fight. He flexes, showing off his incredible physique, and explains that ever since he saw Camino, his body has been itching for a battle. Camino can only stare back in pure, unadulterated terror. Soma gives him an ultimatum: fight him within the month or lose his rank. He smirks, saying he'll be waiting for the beanpole to make his choice. And with a final booming laugh, he walks away, leaving Camino completely frozen, the weight of the challenge crashing down on him. He sits at home realizing his life has been completely upended. His sister Chica snaps him out of his daze, asking why he isn't eating. He quickly apologizes and digs in, trying to act normal. He takes a hesitant bite of the soup and is genuinely surprised by how delicious it is. Chica explains she made something gentle for his injured mouth. He wishes this simple, peaceful life could just continue. But then he notices a pamphlet in his sister's bag. She pulls it out, announcing her dream to become a chef. She wants to study hard and move people with her cooking. But Chica admits they can't afford the tuition for her dream. Their family is poor, barely scraping by on their mother's income. Camino looks at the pamphlet, feeling he should be the one to sacrifice. He reads the staggering cost of her culinary education. The total is far more than even his prize money could cover. Suddenly, their mother bursts in with a cheerful greeting. Camino and Chica are stunned to see her home from work. She announces with a smile that she's been fired. Well, that's one way to deliver bad news. The siblings can only stare in absolute disbelief. She explains she worked for a Sakata subsidiary and had a disagreement with her boss. Her boss had screamed at her for what Camino did to Sakata, so she delivered a solid slap and quit on the spot. The siblings can only stare, completely speechless. And now, she explains, they have no job and no savings. But she just laughs, asking what they're going to do now. The consequences of his fight have officially hit home, but his mother tells him she watched the entire match. She says she was happy seeing him look so alive for the first time. Camino is stunned by her unexpected pride. She tells him not to worry, insisting she'll find another job. But Camino closes his laptop, feeling the weight of his actions. He wonders if he's doomed to a life of just scraping by. The next day, he finds his mentor waiting for him at the park. Congo casually notes the determined look on our boy's face. He asks if Camino has finally made his decision. Camino reflects on a life spent as a weakling, poor at home and a punching bag everywhere else. He can't even help his sister achieve her dreams. Now winning has only brought him a new set of problems. He asks if it's all just unfair, but Congo looks less than sympathetic. He screams that he's trying so hard but never gets rewarded. But Congo just tells him he's starting to get annoyed. And with a sudden fire, Camino declares he'll fight Genryu and win. The sudden declaration leaves his mentor completely stunned. But then Congo erupts in laughter, praising the kid's spirit, only to immediately tell him to forget it. He demonstrates with a handstand that Genryu is on another level, and that fighting him now would be a death sentence. He breaks down the opponent's background in wrestling. A fighter who is 70% grappler and 30% striker, but Camino declares he has no plans to lose or die. He reveals a massive stack of his own research. He's drawn and studied every single one of Genryu's matches. Congo demonstrates a move with incredible agility. Camino explains Genryu's style, a brutal mix of strikes and tackles. He's memorized it all through his obsessive sketching, and with his reproduction power, he can now copy any movement. But there's one thing he can't overcome: the hopeless physical difference. The raw, destructive power from Genryu's size is something he can never replicate. Congo agrees, asking our boy what he plans to do about it. He explains that if he can't match Genryu's muscle, he'll use his opponent's own power against him with counters. Congo is blown away by the kid's sheer audacity. He grabs Camino, announcing they're going on a trip. A determined glint in his eye suggests this isn't a vacation. He's taking him to his homeland. Camino realizes with a shock that they've traveled all the way to Okinawa, where a muscular old man greets them from atop a military vehicle. Congo asks if they are here, and they're hurried inside. Congo tells him he's being taken to an awesome place. Camino panics, worried about school and not telling his family, but his mentor just tosses him inside, calling it special training. Inside the surprisingly plush vehicle, Camino asks about the cost. He then asks if his mentor is even solvent. Congo explains that in fight rankings, money eventually becomes meaningless. He reflects on a time when he had it all, only to realize its emptiness. The lesson seems a little lost on Camino. Congo then praises his analysis of Genryu, but says he missed the point. He explains the man's true strength is his raw, animalistic instinct in a fighting style he calls the wild hunt. He asks how Camino can possibly counter a rampaging beast. Their vehicle pulls into the center of a massive, empty arena. Camino looks out, wondering where they've been taken, and his mentor promptly kicks him out onto the sand. Congo shouts at him, telling him to face his training head-on. Camino looks up to see a massive bull emerging from a gate. The beast lets out a furious, deafening roar. Camino's eyes widen in absolute primal terror. He's completely frozen as the animal towers over him. The beast is a mountain of muscle and rage, and from the sidelines, Congo just laughs at the spectacle. Camino turns to run, but his mentor shouts a warning. It's too late. The bull sends him flying with a brutal charge. He realizes this is far beyond falling from a tree. He hits the ground hard, completely at the animal's mercy, and for a moment, he's certain this is how he dies. But his phone lights up, confirming his match is in 90 days. 1 month passes in the blink of an eye, and Camino is still in the ring, facing the beast day after day. Camino stands bruised but determined, his mind set on the Genryu fight. His goal is to use the beast's own power against it and land a counter. Back in their room, Congo laughs at how badly Camino was thrown. but Camino frantically sketches, trying to capture the bull's overwhelming power. He wonders how he could ever land a counter on such a monster. His mentor just watches with a smirk, telling him to think harder, and to keep thinking, even while getting tossed around like a rag doll. Back in the ring, Camino realizes what he truly needs for a counter. He needs to react to his opponent's movements with pure, unthinking reflexes. And the beast paws the ground, ready to begin the lesson once more. His eyes widen with a sudden, desperate focus. But the bull is just too fast, sending him flying once again. From the sidelines, Congo laughs, telling him he's too slow. He orders Camino to read the beast's movements before it even acts. Camino focuses, seeing the subtle shifts in its stance, and finally finds his opening. But the animal's attack is unpredictable, and he gets slammed anyway. Congo finds the whole situation hilarious, questioning how anyone could read a beast. And so Camino is sent flying through the air once more, tumbling through the sky in a spray of his own blood. But his mentor praises his courage, laughing at his head-on charge. He lies on the ground, wondering how to fight something he can't predict. But then he sees a butterfly and an idea begins to form. The massive beast rears up, distracted by the tiny insect. Congo notes that his training partner, Hanako the bull, is easily amused. The animal leaps and bucks, its attention completely captured. Camino watches from the ground, his eyes tracking every movement. He sees the bull's wild, unpredictable dance. And in that moment, something finally clicks. He sits up with a jolt, a look of pure understanding on his face. The bull just looks confused, its playtime suddenly interrupted. He realizes that trying to predict the beast was the mistake. He can't possibly react to its speed and wild movements. He understands that what he truly needs for a counter is to create his own opening. The beast's eyes lock onto its target. He uses his shirt to lure the animal in, a matador in the making. If he can't react, he'll make his opponent come to him. And in that moment, he unleashes his own attack. From the sidelines, Congo looks on with a massive grin. Camino celebrates, having finally landed the perfect counter. The massive beast stumbles, thrown off balance by the attack. But Camino realizes his victory was a little premature, and Congo laughs as our boy is sent flying once more. He lies on the ground, celebrating his first successful counter, believing that if he keeps this up, he might just have a chance. But his moment of hope is interrupted by a new arrival. A massive man grabs him without a word of warning and executes a powerful throw with incredible technique. He apologizes, saying he just couldn't resist joining in. He introduces himself as Nago Kenji, the Okinawan sumo champion. Congo introduces his friend, the Okinawan sumo champion, as Camino's new trainer. Camino can only stare, his mind reeling from the sudden development. Congo explains the brutal art of Okinawan sumo, a style that has made this man the undisputed king of grappling. The champion looms over him, a new, terrifying mountain to climb. But Camino sees this as a chance to test his new countermeasures. He wonders if he can land a counter on a true grappling expert. The champion can only apologize for what's about to happen. Meanwhile, back in Tokyo at the Fight Rankings headquarters, the show's producer, Shimazaki Kazuya, nervously enters a room. He asks for final approval on the match card. A powerful figure takes a long drag from his cigar. This is the CEO and last ranker, Keita Ryuzen, who gives his approval. Shimazaki praises him for arranging such a spectacular fight. But the producer seems to have some reservations. He worries the massive skill gap will make for a boring broadcast. Keita calls his name and Shimazaki snaps to attention. The CEO delivers a cold philosophy. Life is about taking from others. Money, status. Everything is taken by force from someone else. He explains that the strong take everything from the weak, and that force is the only language that matters. A world where men risk it all in brutal combat. And this is the very world he created. Fight Rankings. He looks at Camino's profile, intrigued by the boy, a kid who was always beaten, always oppressed. Yet he chose to step onto the stage and challenge his superior. With a sudden movement, he shatters the phone with a kick. The producer flinches as the pieces fly, while the CEO just grins, a look of pure madness in his eyes. He wants to see just how far this kid will go. 3 months of brutal training have passed, and it's finally match day. The bloody carnival is about to begin. The stage is a massive back alley, the holy ground of street fights. Camino sits in the waiting room, his nerves on full display. His mentor notes he's even more nervous than the last time. He never imagined he'd be fighting in the main event. He looks down at the arena, trembling with a mix of fear and excitement. But Congo just grins, calling it the battle shivers. The commentary team is ready as the first fighter is announced. But Camino's focus is broken by the announcer's next words. From a cloud of smoke, a familiar figure enters the stage. It's Sakata Toshiro, who after his loss to Camino has been on an absolute winning streak. A tyrant whose momentum seems completely unstoppable, now ranked 401st, the former prince has returned. Back in the waiting room, the group watches the broadcast in silence. Congo explains that the rich boy has been busy since their last encounter. He's been fighting non-stop, crushing higher-ranked opponents and climbing the ladder. Camino is stunned, realizing his old bully is a completely different animal now. The announcer calls out the next fighter, Shunji Kudo, a former detective with a very unique resume, a man who couldn't contain his violent streak, and is now here to rehabilitate delinquents. The two fighters glare at each other, the tension palpable. Kudo smirks, saying he loves putting punks in their place. But Sakata just glares back, ready to show him what real fear is. They turn and walk to their starting positions, the battle about to begin. And Camino can only watch, his eyes wide with shock. The fight begins, and Sakata immediately grabs a bottle as a weapon. He holds the bottle, ready to make a point. Kudo just scoffs, mocking the kid for his age. But Sakata moves with blinding speed, throwing the bottle as a distraction. He closes the distance in an instant, a blur of motion. Kudo smirks, thinking he's already won the exchange. But he realizes the bottle was tossed, not thrown. He catches it, completely baffled by the move, and Sakata shatters it with a single brutal punch. Kudo is left stunned, covered in a shower of glass, and follows up with a brutal punch right to the face. The commentary team is stunned by the dirty, effective combination, but Kudo just smirks, his eyes filled with a veteran's confidence. He grabs Sakata's arm, declaring he's walked right into a trap, and unleashes a vicious elbow strike of his own. The blow connects, sending a spray of blood from Sakata's nose. The former detective grins, certain he's just ended the fight. But Sakata roars back to life, refusing to go down. Kudo can only stare in disbelief, his attack had no effect. And Sakata fires back with a devastating elbow of his own. The former detective collapses to the ground in a bloody heap. Sakata follows up with a brutal kick, ending the fight decisively. But he doesn't stop there, unleashing another punch. And another long after the fight is over. His own crew has to pull him off the unconscious fighter. The announcer declares Sakata the winner, his victory absolute. From the back, Camino watches in horror, realizing his bully has changed for the worse. Congo agrees, noting that Sakata is now a true brawler on a whole new level. As the victor walks away, he spots a familiar face in the exit tunnel. He turns, and Camino finds himself face to face with his old nemesis. Camino is completely frozen as his old bully stands before him. Sakata walks past without a second glance. He mocks Camino for the terrified look on his face, and explains that his loss had some serious consequences. A flashback reveals the day he was disowned by his own family. He was kicked out of his empire, losing everything in an instant. He was handed a single bag and sent on his way, but he vowed to climb his way back up from the very bottom, using nothing but his own two bloodied fists. And he promises that if Camino ever reaches his level, he'll be waiting to knock him right back down. Camino is left completely stunned by the encounter. Congo explains that Sakata will be waiting for him at the top. He notes the rich boy threw everything away just to get stronger. But there's no time to dwell on it. The main event is about to begin. Congo tells Camino that he's just like his old bully, that anyone who can cast aside everything to focus on one goal is strong. He tells our boy to remember all the training he's endured. Camino reflects on his life, a boy with no status, no money to help his family, and no confidence to speak of. He realizes the only place to get what he needs is right here. The match is announced. Rank 30 Genryu versus Rank 601 Camino. And his opponent stands ready, a mountain of pure, unadulterated muscle.